right. Lana, are you gonna like introduce us? Because I don't know what to say.
Well, I already started recording, so I'm going to keep that part in because that's hilarious. But yes,
Okay.
I can introduce us per our usual protocol. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we have the author of Text Me When You Get Home, Kayleen Shaefer, with us. We are beyond excited about this, and we're going to ask her a few questions that we've gotten from you guys and some of our own questions that we have. So with that, we'll get started. Or Kaylee, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
No, sure. I'm the author of Text Me When You Get Home. It's about the power of female friendship. Thank you guys so much for reading it. I know you've been reading it recently, and I really appreciate that. And yeah, so I'm a journalist and author, and fire away. I'm excited to hear what your questions are, what you guys want to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. I'm still pulling up these questions. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, I got some out, so I'll start then. So what inspired, we always talk about what inspired us to read the book. What inspired you to write the book?
I really was inspired to write the book based on what I was feeling, because I was feeling like my friends were a huge support network, but that wasn't talked about in a serious manner. You see the like cheesy like wine glasses and arms linked, and all of those images are good, but it wasn't, there wasn't anything substantial out there that really talked about how much my friendships meant to me. And I thought other women were feeling the same way and might want to read about it.
Wow. Well, you really like hit the nail on the head, because there hasn't been anything like this book that I've ever seen. And just learning about the history of like in the beginning, how we weren't even allowed to be friends, and just you actually deep dive into being, I don't know, like how friendship is really at the core of our lives, and just wild. We love to see it.
Yeah, it was definitely a great read. Samara, do you want to go next question? We'll just bounce back and forth.
Yeah, we can do that. I like that.
Okay, bet.
Oh, the next question is
I like this
for you, Kayleen.
Okay.
Can we expect anything else from you in the future? I mean, I know you have a newborn, which congratulations.
Yeah, he's 5 months old, so he's a little pandemic baby, which I didn't expect this to happen, but it's going well. But yeah, also at the same time, I'm finishing my second book, which you guys are in your 20s still, aren't you? I'm guessing. Yeah. It's about being in your 30s. So you have that decade to look forward to, but maybe if anyone's listening who's in their 30s, it's called But You're Still So Young. And it's about how being in your 30s now is different than it was even 20 years ago, where people kind of just, they did the routine. They finished school, they moved out of their hometown, they got married, they bought a house, they had kids. And now you might do that, you might not do that, but you're not doing it on the same time frame. It's definitely all of these things have been pushed later for sure, which reframes how we're living in our 30s. And it makes our adult lives look so different than they did in the past. And it's a new way of living through your 30s. And so that's what the book is about. Ooh. And it's out in March. So
March. Okay, of 2021.
Yeah. So that's definitely something to look forward to. Because I know a lot of people.
When you guys get there, you let me know.
I'm so excited for my 30s. Like every like badass woman who I know who hit 30, like all they've done is glow up. Like Rihanna started Fenty and she is building a whole empire, for example. But Beyonce, I mean, like it just gets better, and I love
like your 30s are it. Like that's when it really starts.
Honestly, like we're ready for it.
I mean, I'm enjoying my 20s right now, but like 30s, I feel like I'm not as afraid as like it used to be. Kind of like you were saying, how it's kind of your 30s are framed now. Like some people used to hit 30 and be like, all right, my life's over. That was it. 20s was great.
Not anymore at all. That doesn't
right, like you said, like now it's like, oh, 30s. All right, let's see what's popping in the 30s.
Right?
So,
That's awesome. And I really like the theme. It seems like there's this theme of like almost kind of exploring this new territory, like this uncharted territory. It seems like you like to go there with your books. Is that something?
I like to look at like new ways of building community and new ways of living, and like the way that we're actually living versus like these stereotypes. Like with friendship, there's this idea that like friendship can't be the most important relationship in your life, but it totally can and is for a lot of women. And that's just, those are our support systems. And so this is also looking at like the 30s were traditionally supposed to be this way, and stereotypically they are, but they're not actually, and people aren't really living that way. Many people aren't. So yeah, I like to look at stuff like that.
I think that's so powerful because, sorry, Lana, I'm just like running away with things.
Go for it.
I'm like, okay. No, but like being seen is so important to feeling understood, and that's something that like more representation is so important. And the fact that you're doing that for decades of your life, because like we were saying on one of those episodes of She Will Read season 1, go listen. But we were saying like, or I was saying like Forever 21, it's like as if after you're 21 nothing matters. And I even hear people say that to me. It's like, okay, you got no more birthdays to look forward to. And I'm like, yeah, I guess not. You know, it's like, no, I'm looking forward to 30 and many more, you know?
Yeah, we're never finished. Don't let anyone put an end on anything. You're not done.
Right.
We're not done. We're not done.
So next question. How have your friendships evolved in motherhood? And like, did you have, like, we remember you talking about in the book, there was a pregnancy group that kind of, we were talking about joining.
Moms of Brooklyn.
Yes. Did you have like a support system like that evolving into motherhood?
Yeah, but not as formalized, because like I was a little bit late, so a bunch of my friends had kids, and so it was more talking to them versus, and I think I had a few friends that were pregnant at the same time. And now it's sort of weird because, as you guys know, like the pandemic is isolating, period. Yeah. So it's a little weird now, but I still have friends that I can rely on and talk to and ask like what they're doing and what they're thinking. So yeah, I was just fortunate enough that I didn't find myself as isolated as Carla, the woman in Text Me, because she just didn't know anyone. She was just the first, and so I wasn't. So I already had a group of friends like that. But I get worried that I don't want to have just mom friends, you know, or just non-mom friends. I want to keep all of my friends. So I've been trying really hard to do that.
That's great, because I know it's hard, obviously, like keeping, you know, balancing all the parts of your life, but when you move on to a new phase of life, like your life changes, but no one else's changes. And so, you know, if you kind of like start to drift out of your friend's life, or like, you know, your friends that don't have kids, or, you know, you get married and then you don't hang out with your friends that are single anymore. And like, it's just kind of like you just kind of let people go as you get older. So I think that's great that you're trying to keep everyone.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff's tough. And I had a hard time writing about that in the book, because my whole message was about, you know, friendships make you stronger, and these are your support system, and you can really rely on these people, and they're not disposable in the way that we've sometimes been taught. But of course, sometimes friendships don't last. You know, sometimes you do shift into different phases where you're not as tight with that person as you once were. And so like we have to talk about that stuff too, because there's not a good language around it, like friend breakups. I don't know if you guys have had friend breakups, but like you're kind of like, oh, you know, I had a huge fight with this friend, or I don't talk to this friend, and people are like, oh, you know, whatever. You know, but if you break up with a guy or girl, like whoever your romantic partner is, people are like, oh my God, we have to stop everything. We have to talk about this. We have to process this. We have to grieve this. Yeah, so there's not the same like cultural reverence around a friend breakup, but sometimes they hurt just as much or even more, or you mourn them for longer. So like that stuff is important to talk about. Like it's important to talk about. Sometimes you have to move on or break up with friends.
Absolutely.
And that's okay, you know?
Yeah, and it is okay. It doesn't mean that friendships are any less valuable in anyone's lives.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, my turn for questions?
Yes, it is.
Okay, how much time do we have? We've got like 10 minutes.
Yeah, so you can like pick your favorite, I guess, from the list.
Okay. Well, honestly, it's the next question. So, the question is, what advice would you give your 20-something-year-old self?
Oh man, I would give her the advice of not to be wrapped up in what guys think, because I worked at a men's magazine and most of my friends were guys, and I distanced myself from women because I was like, I don't want to be like those women. And it was hard and I felt awkward and weird because I wasn't being true to myself because I'm a woman. Like it didn't make any sense, but that's the way I felt that I had to be. And I think that's changing now, but I also think it's not. And there's plenty of women out there who think, oh, I'm a guy's girl, or I'm not like other girls, or I'm cooler than other girls, or whatever it is. And I think I just wasted a lot of time before I found my real voice and my real self, just trying to write like what men would want to read or be like what men would like. And yeah, that I would say, like, look at yourself, and if you think you're doing that, like ask yourself why, and if you're really being true to yourself.
Because there's that famous line like, oh, like I get along with guys way better than I get along with other women. Yeah. And that's why I have so many guy friends. And it's like, okay, yeah, to an extent that could be true, but like, is there a deeper like underlying meaning? Kind of like how you came to that realization, like, oh, like that's why I was really doing that. And just like not dismissing it so quickly. And to say like, you don't have to have a bunch of girlfriends. Like you don't have this, there's no number, but like you can have a few good girlfriends. I feel like having a few good girlfriends is better than saying like I have a lot of girlfriends. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And you dismissing like girls as a whole is just as bad as like any kind of stereotyping, like you're just basically dismissing your own sex, and that doesn't make any sense. Like you're just as guilty of stereotyping as anyone else then.
Right.
Right.
If you point the finger, there are 4 pointing back at you.
Yeah,
exactly. I haven't heard that since middle school, but I'm bringing it back.
I thought about that the other day, so you're not alone.
Okay.
So next question. This is one of my favorites. If you could add another chapter to the book, what would it be about?
Oh, I saw that you guys were gonna ask that, but I my impulse is to be like, but the book is done, it's whole, it's complete. But if I were still writing the book, like I am proud of the book the way it is, but if I were still writing the book now, the book came out right around Me Too. So obviously, if I had the opportunity, the movement would have been in the book so much. I would have explored what that meant for taking friendships more seriously, which I think it did. Like, it basically showed that bonds between women were a lot more than surface bonds, and women were relying on each other in more secretive ways just regarding sexual harassment and assault. And then that all came out publicly, and women were standing up for each other publicly, which is obviously part of friendship. And it was part of the political movement at the time. But so, yeah, I would have looked into that more and written about that and talked to women about how that affected their friendships.
I like that.
I like that too. Because just like there was like a Twitter thread like not too long ago where it was like I was 17 or I was 25 or I was my age right now when something, they were either sexually assaulted or mistreated in some type of way, part of the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
And it really like things like that, when we actually talk about these things instead of just internalizing it and saying we're dealing with it ourselves, instead of like dealing with it in a more healthy way, like talking about it and acknowledging it, for what it is, and then realizing you have this entire community of other people who went through or are going through the same thing as you. So I think that in itself is really powerful, because I feel like that builds community, and it builds this type of support system that many of these women needed that they didn't even realize that they had. So yeah, I like that. I like that you would have put that in the book too. But I too think that the book was great on its own and didn't need anything else.
We were not suggesting anything.
No, we saw the question and we were like, wow, that's so cool. We wonder if, like, maybe she would have, like, if she thinks about it now.
No, I mean, I would have put that in there, obviously, had I been writing it at the time.
Yeah. Samara, I think we have time for one more question if you want to pick one.
All right. Okay, that's tough. Okay. I'll do, I guess, the one that's, the question is, wait, I'm reading a different one. Okay. What did the subjects think of the book?
Oh, you mean like the women in it, or my friends, or?
Like Renee was someone we were thinking about. Like, how did she feel of, like, being branded? I mean, not that she obviously grew and is not that person, but you know, we all.
I know what you're about to say, like branded the mean girl, right? And I think I told her that, and she was like, "Oh, please! I have been called so much worse."
That's awesome. She's resilient.
She's very resilient. And so, I mean, Renee and I really, that's a true story in the book. Like, we became friends from the book, and she came, I'm from Dallas, and she came to the launch in Dallas. And it was just so fun to see her there in the bookstore. And then, like, we had drinks afterwards, and she was with my whole family. Like, it was just, I never would have expected my phone call to her asking, like, can we talk about this, to lead to her being at the book launch and celebrating being there. And, like, we're actual friends now. Like, we see each other when she comes to New York, or when I go home to Dallas, or like we text, you know, it's, yeah. So, I mean, she was good with it. But I got so much positive feedback. Like, I was overwhelmed and didn't expect all of the positive feedback I got. And it was really unexpected and overwhelming and thrilling, honestly. But I also, like, the way I put the books together, like, people saw it before it was published, because the last thing you want is for it to be out in the world, not able to be changed, and for people to be like, what is this? So, you know, any, like, friction or whatever, anybody who was like, oh, I wish you wouldn't say that, or like whatever, like, I work with people. That's always what I've done.
Yeah, that's really good. And that's another good thing to point out, like, before you try to, like, I don't know, like, talk about certain situations, like, maybe that have been resolved now, or like have happened in the past, like, you know, talk to the other person before, like, you know, in this instance, writing a whole book about it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there are people who, and these people, they have a good point of, like, you know, this is my story and I should be able to tell it how I want to. Like, a lot of memoirists think this, but that for me, I don't know, like, I feel better showing a person what I have written about them before it comes out. But right. You can do either way. You just have to, like, trust yourself and what you're putting out there.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to talk about writing nitty-gritty, like, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Right. That's one more question too. I feel like we have time for one more.
Oh, a bonus question.
Anyone, one last question.
Okay, Lana, that's you.
Well, okay. Ooh, I like this one. What would you advise young women writers trying to build a publishing history or an author platform? Like, what advice would you give to them?
There's so much advice, and it just sort of depends on also what you're trying to write. But I don't know, if you have no writing experience, I would start a little smaller and publish some essays somewhere, or do some smaller reported pieces before just saying, okay, I'm going to write a book proposal and a book, because that helps you meet editors. It helps you meet other writers. And then it also shows like a potential agent that you have done professional work in different places. So yeah, when you're trying to build your career, start smaller. I mean, or, but like I said, there's a million ways to do this. So you could just go for it too. I don't know, but find whatever way is authentic to you and put yourself out there is what I would say.
Love it.
Yeah, that
Love
makes sense.
that.
Yeah, because, everybody's journey is different, and, just go ahead and writing the book and submitting it out there into the world, like, might work for some, but like you said, for other people, it might be, building blocks until you can get there to, like, better yourself. So I like that you gave kind of both sides of that and how that can work.
Everyone's story is different.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you, Kayleen, for taking time out of your day to speak with us and to speak to our listeners and future writers and all of that. And thank you again for writing this fantastic book that we got to cover in our first season. It was so needed. I think I can speak for both Samara and I. When we found it, it was like, oh, like, this is it. So yeah, just thank you so much.
You guys, thank you for reading, and congratulations on your first season. That's awesome. This is the final episode, right, of first season?
Yes.
That's great. Congratulations. Very, very, very cool.
Thank you so much.
All right.
And with that, we will see you guys later. Eventually, you'll see new content from us soon. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.